leverage your knowledge to success.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Aditya Talks. Today we have Mr. Ankit Rathi with us, and it's going to be a great discussion today. I'm excited to have him here. It's an honor to have you here. How are you doing, sir?
All good. Yeah.
Sir, can you tell us about yourself in brief, for the benefit of our viewers?
Okay. So I'm Ankit Rathi, and I have around 2 decades of experience in data and AI. I started as a SQL developer, PL SQL programmer, ETL and BI developer. Then moved to data architecture. Then moved to data science. Then came back to data engineering. Currently moving to data management. So basically, I can say that I worked on the overall life cycle of life cycle management of data in an organization. So yeah, that's it.
That's really interesting. So your journey spans across almost 2 decades, and you managed to survive in these tumultuous, times where technology keeps evolving from SQL queries to designing end-to-end AI systems. How has your thinking evolved over time, Ankit?
Okay, so basically, when I started, I used to look at what problem I need to solve, and it was not pretty much related to the business I'm working with. But over the period of time, as the scope of work increased, I got better exposure of what I am working. And basically, from that perspective, I could see that basically whatever we are building are just data artifacts, and basically, ultimately, they need to improve business decisions, and which basically need to improve value. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. So, you ultimately you think about providing the core value, and what were some key turning points that shaped your philosophy around data and decision making throughout your career?
Okay, so I think when we start, we don't know the path, right? And as we walk, the path emerges. So basically, as I mentioned, that at each pivotal point, I got more exposure on what I have worked and how it has contributed, and what should I work next, and how, as the environment and the world was evolving, which are the areas that are going to make an impact, and whether should I should move into those areas. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. So it has been a very, spontaneous road for you. You didn't have anything planned out, but your philosophy evolved with in your 20 years in the industry. So today everybody talks about AI. But from your experience, where do you think organizations actually get it wrong, and where do you think AI will be in the future? And how should people, adapt to it in these times?
Okay, so basically, what I've felt is generally, uh, while the artifacts, the data and AI artifacts, whether it's data pipelines or models or dashboards, that contribute to the decisions and ultimate business outcomes. But generally, organizations are more worrying about these data artifacts, and not about whether they are contributing to the decisions or the business outcomes. So basically, what I feel is that there are areas where data doesn't drive decisions, We build dashboards, but maybe those are not being used by the business. Um, the decisions that are being taken are based on these data artifacts, are not being measured, and then the business outcomes that are there because of these decisions, um, the learning is not being implemented out of it. So these are the things that I see missing in some of the areas of organization.
Hmm. So the data in organizations is not being aptly used for making decisions, and the organizations are not learning and adapting to it. Okay, that's interesting. So you say data has no value until it improves a decision. Can you break this statement down for a young audience?
So basically, we have a value chain where we collect data, we get insight out of it. Based on that, we make decisions, and based on those decisions, we take certain actions, and then we get some result. And based on those results, we see where we stand, and then we refine our decisions. Okay, so I mean, if for young audience, if I can take an example, like a student got 60 out of 100, and he wants to increase his marks, so he would basically, this number 60 is data, and um, from this he can take insights. Okay, which are the areas where he performed well, which are the areas that he needs to improve, and based on those insights he can take decisions. Okay, these are the areas I need to work on, and this is how I would do. He takes certain actions, and then appear for the exam again, or the test again, and this time he get maybe 70 marks, and then again he goes through the same analysis. Which are the areas what efforts I've made, and what results I've got, and which are the areas to improve further. So, and then this loop goes on, and same is with the organization. It's just that it's a pretty simple example, but organizations are uh, generally matrix organizations, and uh, there are multiple departments, and data is flowing from one point to multiple points. So there are complexities. So it's not as simple to analyze it. But again, ultimately, if uh, they do it that way, then ultimately it adds to the business value.
Agreed. You describe a system where, reality, data, intelligence, decision, action, and outcome, and learning, that being the flow. How, what, what is the most crucial aspect in which companies fail in this chain?
So yeah, I mean, uh, so data is the kind of representation of the reality, and uh, we look at in what structure and um, form we can capture the reality in terms of data through observations, and uh, at every step in this chain we may miss certain points, like if we haven't modeled the data which actually captures the reality. Certain data elements are missing, or certain observations are uh, missing. Maybe if we look at the data model, and if we look at the what's really happening, and we see some gaps, then obviously we are working on the wrong data, and then the whole chain further basically makes no sense. Similarly, if uh, the data attributes are not um, in a shape of or form which basically add to the intelligence, then again it's a failure point. If
Hmm.
the intelligence or the insight generated out of the data, um, the decisions are not being made. Those artifacts, as I mentioned earlier, are not being adopted by the business to make a decision. Then again, that's a failure point.
Hello.
Outcomes are being generated, but a learning is not taken out of it. So these are the at every uh, critical point there can be some failures.
Hmm. I understand. So it varies from case to case, is what I understand from you, that people can pick the wrong reality to source data from, or the data that they source from their market could be wrong, and the intelligence derived from it is also susceptible to being wrong. So it's a very thin line that companies have to walk to in order to find actual actionable data and act on it. So why is decision quality the most ignored but critical layer in company decision making?
Uh, so basically, people focus on data, tools, or models, but their real impact comes from decision. So that is the whole point.
Hmm.
And so basically, there are decision quality and then the outcome quality. So for a good decision, outcome can be bad. Maybe luck factor is there, or maybe some external factors. And then for bad decisions, there may be good outcomes as well. So basically, judging the decisions based on the outcome quality is not the right way as I look it. And so it should be taken into the conjunction of how the decision quality is, what's the process of getting to a decision.
Hmm. I understand. So we should look and refine what goes into the process rather than looking at the outcome. And that kind of thinking is what you promote. Aside from that, you've also developed, you've emphasized a lot about systems, and you focus on system thinking a lot. So, what does a good system look like to you in this world?
Okay, so I think if you want to improve in any area, then basically there has to be a system in place. I mean, if I want to improve uh, my health, or if I want to improve my marks, then basically there has to be a system. And why system thinking is important? Because it's you are creating a repeatable way of doing things. In you have basically clear input and then certain layers and then the result. So it's basically create that's what we call a system, where basically there are some repeatable ways. So and a hack is basically once you are doing something, but a system is you are following a process, you have some components and layers in place, and you are doing things systematically, which basically where you can see, okay, these are the components I have improved, and based on that, the result or the outcome is improved.
Hmm.
Um, so basically, it helps us to improve over time.
Yes, it makes sense. So, how can professionals shift from building dashboards to improving decisions? What kind of key shift is needed for their, what kind of uh, shift is needed to improve their decisions and kind of change their mindset? What kind of system do you think they should incorporate?
So, yeah. So when we build the dashboards, we need to see means like whether it is actually contributing to improving the decisions. So rather than uh, looking at how I need to show certain data points in the dashboard, we need to look at how those data points are improving the decision making.
Hmm.
And so if we look from that angle, then basically the dashboard would not be an artifact or a data artifact itself, and we can think of it as a means to improve a business decision. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's how I think we should look at it.
Looking at the model and the dashboards as a means to achieve uh, quality decision making is the mindset that you support. And now, why should data professionals also, you've always supported the idea of professionals thinking like product builders. What is the reasoning behind this statement?
So data is basically valuable when it enables to make better decisions, and a product is where basically you think and you focus on the user needs, its usability and the outcomes in terms of features. So if a data professional need to think from the usability perspective as well. So what features should I build in a data product which basically is more useful to the business users to make better decisions. So if we look that way, then basically, and that's why the data professional need to uh, think like a product builder.
Sure. Uh, Now, discussing your passion project and your, your time and work in investing, can you tell us about Quantvesting? What inspired you to build it, and can you tell us about it from the starting? What kind of mindset influenced you to start it?
So there was a time when I was going through a rough phase in life, and I realized that I may not work for whole life. And then I thought I started looking for mechanism to create passive income, and stock market looked to me a better um, environment to make money, generate passive income. And I could, while learning stock market, I could also see that I can do it systematically. With my data and AI knowledge, I thought I could build a framework around it, which I can improve over time, and which can help me remain consistent. So that's how I basically came up with this quant vesting framework, which is basically quantitative way of investing.
Hmm. So, how does this data-driven investing method differ from traditional investing approaches in terms of, approach-wise as well as result-wise?
Okay, so there are fundamental based investing where basically you look at the revenue of a business or the cost of a business, profits made by them. Uh, and then there are technical ways of investing or rather trading where you look at whether a stock is uh, as a value level or it's basically the idea is to buy low and sell high, ignoring the quality of the business. And then there are factor based investing, like you are looking at the value of the business, momentum uh, in stock prices, quality of the business. And I have realized that all of this can be done, or it can be done better using data, where we can, using programming, we can automate stuff, and with data, we can quantify these approaches. And then once we have built something around it, then we can mix and match. We can, like, we can do techno funda investing, which is a mixture of technical and fundamentals, or we can include other factors as well, like value, momentum, quality. And basically, uh, an investor can include these methods based on his skills and appetite.
Hmm. So, what do you think, especially in my age group? I've seen investing is something that young people uh, get into a lot more than they did before. And especially in college, when I've come to college, I've seen a lot of people get into investing without having the proper knowledge of how that kind of world works. So, what principles do you believe young people should understand before or when they start investing?
So I think one should invest for long term, at least in stock
Hmm.
market, because there are market cycles, and market can remain at lower level for a longer period than expected,
Hmm.
or it may be remain. Uh, it can be volatile. It can move up and down pretty quickly. Another idea is to invest regularly,
Hmm.
and basically, if you uh, do it regularly for a long period of time, you are basically it has a snowballing effect on your wealth, and basically you can make the most of compounding.
Hmm. So, how important are discipline and probabilistic thinking in wealth creation? Uh, People around me I've seen invest very erratically when they get money, and sometimes they don't, sometimes they do, depending on how they feel. What kind of a mindset do you think people should develop when they go into wealth creation and, when they start investing?
So there are two kind of skills that I see. One is technical, and another is behavioral. And then I think it's not only about investing; it's about career and life as well. So uh, behavioral skill is basically like having discipline, conviction, patience. Technical skills from stock market perspective is understanding the fundamentals, technicals, or maybe factor investing. And what I've felt is that behavioral skills make sure that you're profitable. Um, I feel that the behavioral skills are more important than technical skills, while both are important. But yeah, and then the technical skills is basically to optimize your profitability.
Hmm. I understand. So you believe a mindset is more important than technical skills when you go into investing because profit is created from a long, from a process which is very specific, and then technical details are the, cherry on top where you can increase your profit and work on that lane of, investing. So first of all, congratulations on your new book. Let's discuss that.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what inspired you to write it?
Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, that as data professionals or maybe product owners, or business leaders, we are more focused on creating data assets than creating business value.
Hmm.
So I thought I could address that gap based on my exposure and experience. And I basically wanted to connect the dots between from data to decisions to business value. So
Hmm.
that was my starting point.
So, guys, Mr. Ankit Rathi has written Designing Decision Systems, How Data and AI Turn Decisions into Business Outcomes. It's a book like that he released 2 days ago, and you can check it out on Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description. And I think this it is a wonderful book, and I'll get a copy for myself as well. So, what kind
Yeah,
of a
one thing I would like to add.
yes,
Yeah, one thing I would like to add. Basically, I've made this book freely available on GitHub as well for a review, so that maybe you can put that link as well,
sure.
so that people can refer it before making a buying decision. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, congratulations again. Please tell us who this book is for and what kind of a problem can people expect to solve after reading the book?
Okay, so I think I mentioned it that this book is basically for data professionals, data product owners, and business leaders.
Hmm.
And the idea is to bring everyone on same page. Like data improves decisions, which further improves business value. So
Hmm.
propagating that idea to every role in a data organization. That
Hmm.
that is the motto of this book.
Hmm. So that's really interesting, and I support your cause. Uh, I hope you continue writing more books and spreading your continue spreading your knowledge. So, what should students focus on if they want to build a career in data or AI?
Okay, so I think taking a top-down approach would be a better idea. Having a bigger picture clear and connecting it back to your actual work so that you could see where you fit in the bigger picture and what kind of problem you are solving. It basically helps you to understand the overall ecosystem and the
Hmm.
part you are playing in that, and that becomes your motivation to work and contribute accordingly.
Hmm. I understand. And for success in these spaces, are tools and coding enough, especially with tools being widely available right now and coding also not being a rare skill? How is some kind of a deeper thinking required to excel in these spaces? And if so, what kind of a mindset do you think these young individuals should build in order to, make a name for themselves in this line of work?
So I believe tools and coding is the enablers. So they basically enable you to do certain stuff. Deeper thinking is required to maybe define a problem, choosing what is the right approach, and connect it to the real outcomes. So
Hmm.
deeper thinking is essential, and tools and codings are enablers, which basically helps in execution in the execution of your plan.
Yes. And so what kind of a mindset do you think they should build aside from that?
Uh, so basically, I think the young professionals should target to achieve clarity by understanding the problem, and solution simply. And basically, they should approach the solutions simply rather than looking for complex solutions, models, or jargons.
Hmm. I
And
understand.
then basically, they should see what is changing the outcome rather than what is being produced, whether there are reports or models.
Hmm. I understand. You emphasize. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hi, yeah, hi, Aditya.
Yes, everything all right. So I'll figure this out in the editing part, but yeah, let's continue. So you emphasize clarity over complexity and outcomes over outputs. And I think this kind of a mindset goes beyond data organizations and generally can be applied to life as well. Uh, how do you live by this statement, and how can people also apply this mindset to their daily lives?
Basically, we should be focusing on better results and not just about more efforts, uh, like getting more marks or getting healthier. And I think we should be focusing on what works, learning from our mistakes, and adjust instead of repeating blindly. So it's basically taking smart decisions with feedback for better results.
Hmm. I understand. So now we have a new round. It is a rapid fire round. So from data to decisions, where I will ask you questions where you have to answer in one word only, and I'll ask a lot of successive questions. So are you ready? Sure. Okay, let's start the
Yeah,
round. Data or intuition,
mostly data. Yeah,
complexity or simplicity,
simplicity,
dashboards or decisions,
decisions,
short-term gains or long-term compounding.
long term compounding.
One skill every data professional should have.
Um, it's basically framing the problem.
One mistake beginners make in AI.
Jumping to the tools and models rather than understanding which problem to solve and how to solve it.
What is success in one word?
It's for me, it's contentment.
Hmm. What is one habit that changed your life?
Um, Actually, there are two habits: reading and writing. So, reading gives me ideas, and writing gives me clarity.
Hmm. Thank you, Mr. Ankit. That concludes our rapid fire round. And let's move to another round, which is one truth, one myth. Please tell us one truth about data and AI that many people don't understand.
So, basically, data and AI don't create value on their own. Better decisions do.
Hmm. One myth about AI or investing that you want to break.
Uh, More data or better models automatically lead to better outcomes.
Interesting. So, Thank you for participating in this round, and I think you've given awesome answers. Ankit, please pass the mic to one or two, leader, investor, thinker, or anyone you want to see or you believe our audience should hear from next on this show and why.
So, while um, there are public figures and influencers that I also follow, and I don't have a direct contact with them, but like Cassie Kozakov, Joe Reese, Nitin Agrawal, these are the people in data and AI area that I follow. In investing world, like Vijay Kedia, Ramdev Agrawal, Manish Chokhani. So these are the investors that I want to learn from.
Hmm. And some people that you know.
Okay, maybe I'll get back to you on this later.
Sure, sure, sir. No worries. So closing reflections. It was amazing discussing with you and getting your insights on AI and obviously discussing your book as well, which, I'll provide all the relevant links in the description below for my viewers. So, guys, I hope you also enjoyed uh, this episode until now. So now, sir, what keeps you learning after 2 decades in such a fast evolving field? What drives you to go forward and kind of evolve with the industry?
It's basically the world around us is evolving fast, and I know that in order to survive, we need to keep ourselves up to date. So that's basically keep me motivated and uh, yeah, keep learning.
Nice. And if viewers remember just one insight from, the whole conversation we had, what do you think it should be?
So it's basically data improves decisions, which further improves business value.
Any final message that you have for our viewers or audience?
Learn, apply, and reflect.
Hmm. That's wise. Thank you, sir. It was amazing to have you here and discussing with you was a pleasure. I hope it was the same for my viewers. And viewers, if you have any questions for sir, please post them down in the comments and I'll get them to sir. And aside from that, ciao for now. Bye bye.
Okay. Thanks, Aditya. Thanks for having me on the boat. Yeah.